Hey, what's up guys? How's everyone doing now? Something a little bit different today, but still very much Warframe related. I guess you could call it a podcast. It's basically a chat between myself, Neso, who I have highlighted on my channel before, Philamon, who I have also highlighted on my channel before, and Beirbones, or Greg, who's a good friend of mine, who streams Warframe a lot over on Twitch and has also just set up a channel as well. Now basically all four of us are founders, or master founders of Warframe, and have played the game since it first appeared back in March 2013. And basically we're just chatting about certain things we like about the game or dislike, and certain aspects or updates that have been amazing, and hits and misses. And basically it's just us having a chat. Don't take any of it serious, and if there is any kind of topic in Warframe that you would like us to talk about, then by all means let us know in the comment section below, and we will try to fit it in the next episode. This is probably going to become a once a month or once every 2 months thing, I guess, where we're going to talk about certain aspects in the Warframe community that we want to get off our shoulders. So I'll leave you with the footage and with the chat, and like I said, don't take any of it serious. It is just four dudes having a chat. And of course I will also leave the links to the other guy's channel in the description below this video, so enjoy. Right, okay, so we've got Mac from North Korea, we've got Phil from his farm, and we've got Greg from the Highlands, yeah.
Not even the Highlands.
Yeah, are you not?
No, well, not really.
Close enough.
We're kinda,
Yeah.
the Highlands
You're up there
are
with the
west,
sheep though.
You don't even know where I live. Jesus.
You're up there with the sheep though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somewhere in
Close
Wales,
enough.
I don't know.
Sheep somewhere.
But right, okay, so why do we still keep coming back to Warframe? It's been out for what, 3 years? It's had its 3rd anniversary, and we continuously come back to a free-to-play game, and we, I guess, enjoy it a lot. So I'll start off with directing it to Phil.
Well, I guess it's just the free-to-play model that it has. I really enjoy it, and it's easy to jump in and jump back out quickly, because like you don't always play the game. Sometimes you want other games to like kind of like buffer in between. But I also really like the combat and the skills and the gameplay. That just kind of holds me. I don't know why, but I love the mechanics of it.
Yeah, it's probably the same with me. The fact that you can, the whole fluid movement from like shooting then to using your swords to the parkour to, it just seems to just move kind of motionlessly. And there's a lot of games that try that and fail miserably at, or they're really good at gameplay or the gunplay, but they're not good at the, I guess, the movement in the game. So that's something that I enjoy. I don't know about you, Mac.
Oh, well, you know, when I first started playing the game, movement was like, I still remember like holding control so you can infinitely climb. It was, you know, it took a while for it to get there, but the parkouring is definitely something that holds me. I mean, the main thing is like being able to hop in a game and just hop out. It's kind of like the same thing with Diablo, but for some reason Warframe just held my attention. I think it's just the fact that you can like customize your weapons, your Warframes, try to come up with some crazy things. It's just it holds my attention.
Yeah, like you said, you can just jump in and jump out. You're not actually bound by any kind of, I guess, it is a grindy game, but there's other grindy games like Diablo and that where you might need to put hundreds of hours in to get the perfect roll on stats on the perfect item that you want to get, whereas with Warframe you can just jump in with whether you want to go solo or jump in with friends and just spend 2-3 missions, and then you can jump back off and either go about doing your business or playing different games. What about you, Beirbones?
I generally like the variety of it, to be honest with you. The vast amount of different Warframes that there are, and the weapons, like melee weapons, secondaries, the main weapons, all the kind of different kinds of ones that you get. It's not just all kind of boring, like basic weapons that you get. That's the kind of thing that kind of keeps me kind of sucked in, and I like kind of seeing how far the game has come from, you know, when I first started playing it, really. You know, like the changes that they've made to, you know, just having like your own ship and stuff like that. All those kind of different things kind of make me come back to it, because I know they're always coming up with new things that'll, you know, eventually, you know, change the game a lot for me. You know, when they added in the ship, you know, that changed it dramatically for me.
Yeah, which kind of brings us on to the next point, the fact that there have been some incredible updates in the game over those 3 years, 3-year period, with regards to damage 2.0, the parkour 2.0, update 18 with the massive quest line, and how some of the updates have been really incredible, and then other updates that were brought into the game kind of looked like they would be incredible, but I don't know if it was maybe bad implementation or they just didn't click with the player base, like say Archwing for Archwing for instance, which just didn't really click, and even to this day still doesn't really click with the community. There's players that really like it, but there's a lot of players that don't want to put any time into Archwing, and the fact that maybe it's a little bit hollow or empty of a game mode. Other things which they implemented into the game and then changed, like self-damage to Rhino's Iron Skin, and then quickly reverted it because it was obvious that it was far too powerful. The same with Frost and weapons that were incredible that got released, and we put 5-6 Forma into them and loved using them, only for them to be completely nerfed to the point that I guess you can't really use them. So to one degree there's been incredible updates, and on the other hand of course there's been some misses as well. So I don't know about you, Phil, what kind of you think with regards to the updates and how the game has progressed and hit and miss with certain updates?
Well, I think that when it comes to doing, well, first and first, Warframe is one of those games that actually has had so many updates is ridiculous. I when I first started playing it, I didn't think that it would have this many updates. And if it didn't have this many updates, it probably would have died out a long time ago. And
yeah, it definitely lives off updates.
Yeah, and if you're gonna have that many updates, you're not gonna have hits every time. You know, it's like, think of somebody playing basketball. You can't score every time you shoot.
Don't know about you, but I do.
If you can.
Yeah, okay.
Right. It's not football, John.
Oh, sorry.
Right. So the thing is that if they have more hits than misses, it's better. You know, it's better off. But you can't please everybody, and that's the other thing too. Like, there might be things that may be good with like maybe 30% of the community, then 70% say, oh, we don't like it. Then it would be the reverse. You know, maybe 70% like. Then it may be split 50-50. So it's I like that it has so many updates. Maybe they should kind of polish them a little bit more, but the mere fact that it has so many updates, I don't even know any AAA title games that try to do updates for a game that do it that often. So I really like that they do that much.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's no denying the fact that they've update after update, and the fact that the developers are so kind of vocal with the community and share everything and their ideas, and whether it's in the dev streams or the updates or over Twitter, and images that they're sharing of stuff that you might be seeing in future, like you said, AAA titles, there's a lot of them that don't do that. So for a free to play title to do it, then definitely an incredible thing. What about you, Mac?
Well, like, I always compare Warframe now to like MMOs with the way they update. Like, you could expect an update, maybe not every month, but you know, it's coming around the corner. And you know, like, I played originally in the open beta, you know, floating there with just Excalibur, and I quit because I didn't have any people to play with. So I came back in when my guild and Guild Wars 2 came back, and they wanted to play it. Played that for a bit until that died out. I quit, and I came back around when Archwing came out, and was like, oh yeah, this is fun. 2 missions later, I never want to do it again. Pretty much the story for most people when it comes to Archwing. Yeah. But the fact that they just keep adding on, and yeah, there's a lot of misses, but at the same time, they try to fix it. A lot of the times too, you know, when I compare to MMOs have public test realms and all that stuff to actually test these things out before they release it, whereas Warframe just pumps it out. So of course, like, bug fixes, you know, they happen, you know, after the patch comes out, and basically, you know, PC is basically their test realms, and consoles are probably what you would get like as a final product. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, it's going. It just keeps adding on, and just a question of like, if they add on too much and they can't really add any more variety to the game. But
yeah, you think that maybe eventually they might run out of where to direct it to. What about you, Greg?
Yeah, like the last update, well, like update 18, you know, there was a lot of stuff added in that, and you know, I think it's like with all updates, there's always going to be people who either really like the update or, you know, really dislike it, depending on like how, you know, maybe their favorite frame, you know, maybe gets like a slight nerf or whatever. People are going to obviously dislike that, and you know, you'll see them complaining or whatever, and then people will get like buffs to weapons they really liked and stuff like that, or get new weapons or new frames that they can use. I think I came back to the game. I think it was just before the Archwing was coming out again, coming out for the first time. Sorry, and it, but from what I'd seen of it, it looked amazing. The whole kind of having like a flight kind of combat in Warframe seemed like really cool, and all the kind of different things you could do with it and stuff. I thought it'd bring that kind of total new different aspect to the game, but I don't think they've really built on it enough to kind of
left it
to use it. Yeah, it's kind of just sat there really now. You know what I mean? They've been focusing more on other things. It's just like a side thing now. I thought they were going to make it so it would be a pretty pivotal part of the game, but
they've kind of added it to raids, but like you said, they haven't evolved it any.
That's yeah. They just I don't think they've done enough with it. It's just sat there now. So hopefully they maybe do something with it in the future and create a new way of like using it properly. But at the moment it's just like a side part that's seemed really cool. And I think that's probably one of the main updates that I was disappointed with. Really was the whole Archwing thing. It disappointed me. Maybe just had a bit too much hope. That it would be something really good. And like from what I'd seen, it did look really good, but overall it wasn't anything that great. Like, so hopefully they do change it, but we'll see what happens with that. It's been a long time in the waiting anyway.
Yeah. So with the talk of previous updates and things that are hit and the miss with regards new content hitting the game, we've seen in the last dev stream and the one before I think as well, certain images of the new star chart and what it's going to look like eventually once Steve and the rest of the guys get finished working on it. And the fact that maybe there might be pop-up missions and that the void might be disappearing and certain aspects of the game are going to change again because of the star chart. What do you guys think or hope to have with the new star chart bringing in with regards to pop-up missions? Like, they've said that maybe some of these pop-up missions might have resources attached to them, so if that pop-up mission isn't up and you're looking for a certain resource, does that mean that those resources aren't going to be able to be gotten until that mission pops up, or are you going to be able to buy a key? Or I guess they haven't really elaborated on it. So what are your hopes and I guess dreams for Star Chart 2.0? I'll start with you, Neso.
So I've been playing on my new account a lot, and the main thing that I hate is like I'm at that point where I need to level up my Serration, but I just can't put in the hours to farm some fusion cores for that. But I play on public on it, and sometimes I bump into people who are just going through it for the first time, and it makes it a lot easier. I'm just hoping like they find a way to make going through the star chart more rewarding. Like, I don't know, maybe like going through a certain planet is bonus XP or something to level up faster. Anything to help out the newer players would be nice.
And Phil?
Well, in regards to the new star chart, I like that it's kind of going back towards the first star chart they had, because with the first star chart it kind of felt more like you had a progression. You started on, back then you started on Mercury, and then you could go over to like Venus and Saturn, I think it was. So you could see it was like a chart, like it was mapped out. Mm-hmm. But the only issue kind of with it was that it was kind of like a tic-tac-toe or connect the dots. But with this one is like you're going from like one planet to the next, and on the planet has the nodes kind of like connected, so it seems like a more refined
version. Where you're going to progress through. Basically you've got a direction.
And because when they moved over to the second one, I think that was in update 14 or something, this one that we currently use, I'll be honest, I did not like it. I didn't like these planets just showing up and then they just kind of twirl around. It seemed like it was built for a console, but not really fleshed out properly, because even on a console, I'm sure they still had issues with it. With the Void now, I'm not quite sure what they're doing, because it seems as though like they're saying like, hey, you still have your keys, you can still team up together and go and do specific missions if you want to, but it's not going to be open to everybody that doesn't have that stuff, so maybe you have to farm stuff to get it. So I guess it's a little bit too early to say yay or nay, but I'm more yay than nay, because I really liked how the old star chart was, but it was dated. But this one looks like, hey, look, this is the old star chart look, but it's only partially the look. This is going to be a complete revamp, but using that progression system, which I think is by far better than what they had went to in the second iteration of it.
Yeah, it's going to be helpful for new players, probably more so than old, because like you said, they're going to have an actual direction. They're going to know which planet they're going to need to finish, which node they're going to need to go to next, and so on, to eventually get to the next planet or to the next boss or to the next mission that they're going to need to farm resources on. So what about you, Beirbones?
Yeah, like, I really like the old one, to be honest. I like that a lot more than this new one that we've got. I don't feel like it's got a lot of kind of general direction to it. It just kind of seems all kind of thrown together a little bit. And I kind of think like the new one, it's kind of reminding me a bit of like the focus trees a little bit. You know, like the way it's kind of played out, you know, it kind of makes up kind of symbols when they're all connected together. But it's kind of got that kind of look, and I think it kind of suits it quite well. You know, like kind of a lot like the old one did, really. Like the new one, I just kind of don't like how they're kind of all kind of crossed up together, and then when you open them up, you know, you can get a general direction of where you're meant to go, but it just doesn't look overly great. It just kind of looks like kind of thrown in a wee bit. It doesn't look like it's been really, you know, properly kind of detailed in. It just kind of looks like something's been kind of thrown in together, you know, at kind of a later stage. But like once they start putting in the whole kind of, you know, missions popping up and that, hopefully that'll kind of get people playing missions they didn't play before.
Yeah, kind of like they've said previously that those missions might be like payday styled missions. You know, where you have to have maybe craft a key to do the mission, or missions might, 2 or 3 missions might pop up every day or every few hours where you're going to be able to do that mission and get the resources, and then that mission's going to go away and then another one will pop up in its place. But like Phil said, it is, I guess, too early for us to talk, because we don't know a whole lot of information. A few images, a few little tidbits, a few little tidbits from a few little bits from the podcast. No, a few little bits from the dev stream. That's about it, is all we've really gotten. So I guess we'll just have to leave that for a different podcast. Now, the discussion next was about all of these new skins that we seem to be getting for the likes of Oberon and the new Banshee one that we've kind of been shown, and everyone's really eager to get their hands on. And the fact that certain frames seem to be getting skins that aren't coming along with some kind of a rework, I guess. Certain frames need a rework. Everyone, I think, in the community knows what frames are really powerful and what frames are in a bad place at the minute. And frames like Limbo, Hydroid, Oberon, and a few others which are in a bit of a place that some players will love them, but there's a lot of players that really don't like those frames because they feel that there's other frames that do their job better, or there's other frames that seem to just perform better. And why would you want a weaker frame when you can have one that is really powerful and really good, and I guess a lot more fun? So like, we got a skin for Oberon, which skin looks awesome, but still a meh kind of frame. It would have been nice if you got some tiny little bit of a rework. And the same goes for Banshee when she appears now, when the new skin comes out. That Banshee is, like they said in December in the Christmas dev stream, that Banshee was the least used frame last year out of all of the frames in the game on PC. That Banshee was the one frame that no one really used, because I guess she's really, really fragile once you get past, say, level 25 and up enemies. If you haven't got her completely formed out and built, I guess, for quick thinking or some kind of survivability, then she will go down pretty damn fast. So I don't know what you guys think. Like, we're going to be getting a mag and a Volt rework, which is cool because they're starter frames, so that's going to keep new players more active in the game, considering if they've got a decent frame to start out with, then they're going to stay in the game for longer compared to what they might not have before that. Like, if you were a new player and you accidentally picked Mag but you didn't realise that she was a little bit more fragile than, say, Volt or Excalibur, then you might not stay around in the game. Whereas now that they're getting a rework, both of those frames should be pretty solid, which will mean you'll stay around longer. But I don't know what you guys think of frames like I said, Limbo, Hydroid, Oberon, and maybe Banshee, and maybe one or two others not getting the rework along with skins that are coming with them, even though Hydroid and Limbo haven't been announced having a skin yet. But you know what I mean. Basically, these frames need a rework, but they haven't gotten one, whereas already strong frames are getting rework and making them even stronger. So I'll start with you, Neso.
Well, I think Banshee's fine, but even though like Banshee's fine, I think that way of like Mag and Volt. I mean, Volt's ultimate is, you know, it's getting reworked, and that's pretty much the only thing we know is changing about him.
Yeah, that static lightning moving from enemies and then charging up thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that looked pretty good. I know they want to add like passives to all the frames, but I think like after these starter frames, they need to really work on those frames that, you know, some people love him, like people will defend Oberon, but I just think he's garbage. Especially if you compare him to something like Trinity that can just instantly heal everyone and give them damage mitigation. In a game in Warframe where like you're just getting one shot at damage mitigation is key, and Oberon just doesn't scale well. Hydroid, you know, he's still used for loot, but at the same time, you can also double dip with Necros, and if you have to choose one, you're probably going to go with Necros. And for Limbo, I don't even know what Limbo is good for, to be honest.
He's got a top hat, though.
Yeah, he's got a hat. He's got that going for him. But, yeah, the main thing I want, like, you know, at least come back to Oberon. Like, the skin is awesome except for the feet. Like, maybe add some customizable shoes for him. That'd be great, too. But, yeah, just... They definitely need a rework. Like I think frames like even Ember, like she's got 3 forms of CC, but frame like Loki, who's got radial disarm, which goes, you know, that stays after nullifiers pass through that thing, and you know it confuses him, which is also a job Nyx does. Granted, Nyx does it longer, but you know Loki is a lot more effective, I think.
What about you, Phil?
Well, I think that they had to rework those first like starter frames first, because like unless you chose Excalibur, you would pretty much get kind of frustrated with Mag and Volt. And I remember when Loki used to be a starter frame, and I remember seeing somebody playing Loki and streaming, and they got really pissed because Loki is a really great frame, but he only becomes great when you get the stuff that makes him great. So as a starter, and you're not being able to, you don't have, you know, like Serration, Hornet Strike, any of those other, your regular damage stuff from your weapons upgraded, Loki just feels like crap. But when you get the stuff now, Loki's like, he's almost like sometimes a must for certain missions. You know, he makes Grineer missions super easy because they can't shoot you. They gotta come up and hit you. With Oberon, well, jumping back a little bit, I think what DE kind of did was set a precedence that a skin will come with a rework. Like when they did Rhino and he had a rework and the skin, everybody was like completely first they were wowed by the skin, and then they had the rework as well. And Siren had a rework. Yeah, Siren had the rework. Yeah, and that went with the skin. And then like other frames that didn't need a rework, like Nyx didn't need a rework, but she got like some nice skins in between. They're not like these new skins, but she got a nice skin.
Same with Loki.
Yeah, same with Loki. So then when you come to Oberon now, and it's like, well, this frame is not the best frame. Now Oberon, everybody, I know some people are divided. I don't think Oberon is complete crap. I just think that his skills need more utility. And if they had brought more utility to his frame along with the skin, it would have been great, because I think his skin is one of the best skins that they've done. I'm very impressed with it.
Oh yeah, it looks incredible.
The skin is not going to get me to play the frame.
Did you say
I bought the skin.
Yeah,
I bought the skin. Yeah, I bought the skin, played the frame a little bit, and then I was like, all right, I remember why I don't like playing Oberon, and I just put him back.
I think that's the case with everyone. It was a case of, yeah, skin looks absolutely incredible. The design of it is absolutely amazing, except for the hooves. But you're still, like, it's like polishing a toad, basically.
Yeah. So it's easy to say from a player's perspective, or somebody's critiquing, saying, well, you know, they should try to time the skins and the reworks at the same time. I don't know how possible that is for them, but I think it's something that they should probably look into more to see if they can schedule it so that they overlap at the same time, because it renews the game a bit more than just having a skin.
Yeah. What about you, Beirbones, with regards certain stronger frames already getting reworks, and then weaker frames getting skins, and no real rework being done to them at all. Now that's not to say they'll have one eventually, but it would have been nice.
Yeah, well, like, right, I can't say anything about Mag because I love Mag, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to the rework.
Oh well, we understand Mag and Volt because they are both starter frames, and you want new players to stay in the game for longer. So
I think it was more like I think how they should have done it with the whole reworks is, you know, the starter frames. You know, obviously they should be done first, and then they probably should have done it like how you would go through the planets, what frames you'd collect from certain planets. You'd go through it that way. You know, you'd upgrade, you know, the first one that you'd collect there and do the reworks for that, and maybe like cycle it through the planets as you go through them, and maybe do it that way. That'd be kind of probably a fairer way to do it. But regarding like the whole Oberon skin thing, I don't kind of feel like it fits what Oberon was meant to be. You know, they kind of like sold him as like a kind of like a paladin kind of class, but it looks kind of more like a kind of druidy kind of looking thing now, especially with like the hoofs on the feet. But I think what would have been better if they did the rework, you know, obviously, and you know the skin at the same time. You know, that would I think it maybe just was kind of maybe like a bad kind of business decision to just, you know, put out the skin and then not have the frame just be the exact same as it is. You know, no one's really gonna buy the skin, you know, that already dislikes the frame, and you know, I don't see you would have sold more skins doing that than, you know, just you know, I mean,
like Max said, he's got a heal, but when you put him up against the likes of Trinity, it's nothing. Yeah.
Like, I think it's kind of meant to be more of a support frame, but there's other frames that do that better. So
at the minute, I think the only thing good about his support is the radiation. The guaranteed radiation proc is probably one of the best. That's basically about it. But I know Loki has that as well. So that's the thing. At the minute, you're trying to balance frames in between other frames having a better variation of something else's ability, a frame that's better at doing one thing than someone else. So it would still be nice for Oberon to be balanced and to be actually, I guess, usable by those of us that like to do long-term missions or long fucking hour-long missions or hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever the case may be. Now, aside from that, then we'll move on to the next with regard the focus trees. At the minute, like I done the video on the Naramon focus school about how incredibly powerful it is, but it does require you to have, I guess, on some cases, a blood rush body count and a high crit chance weapon. No. Whereas if you pop out of that stealth, if you're up against level 150 to 200 enemies and you pop out of that stealth for even a second, then you know there's a very, very good chance that you're dead. You know, but yet people still say it's incredibly powerful, which I agree, it is incredibly powerful, but I still maintain that the other three focus schools, the Unairu, the Madurai and the Vazarin, are weaker in comparison to the Zenuric and the Naramon, and I think those three should be buffed up a bit and not the other way around. Of course, there will be guys disagree with me and think that Zenuric and Naramon need to be nerfed a bit, whether it's the time of your stealth or whatever. I don't know what you guys think with regards to focus schools, whether you think they're in a good place or whether you actually think the opposite that I do, which is fine. If you think Naramon's overpowered, then by all means, let's have it out. No. If you think it's overpowered, then yeah, I'll agree. Like to listen to you. Then I'll tell you to fuck off. But go on.
So see, the thing with Naramon is you have defense and offense, and like you mentioned having the need a high crit weapon. That's not true. Like you can get red crits with Naramon with maiming strikes with any weapon.
But it's still specific loadout.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. What I meant with blood rush and body count is you need a specific mod setup to get there. So with maiming strike, that's still a specific mod setup. If you don't have maiming strike, then you're fucked.
See, the thing that I find OP about Naramon is not the damage that you're getting from stealth. It's not the extra crit you're getting. It's the fact that nullifiers can't dispel your stealth.
So you think they should?
Yeah, I think they definitely should, because if you think about it, like I do definitely think the other focus trees need to be brought up. Generic is pretty good for what it is, but at the same time, it could also maybe give it like free cast. You know, it has that stupid perk in there where you get like reduced energy cost, but you get capped at 175%. Why not just like have free cast if your energy efficiency, like it's a limited time anyway. For Nairu, like you get armor, which is a defense, but
it's only 12%.
Yeah,
of base armor.
Yeah, and when you compare that to being stealth completely with the extra damage boost, it's just shit. It needs to be brought up, and it needs to maybe, I don't know, like health regen or something.
No, well, I don't. I
Madura-
think maybe a slight ammo increase of the 12%, maybe up to 20. Like, if you were able to get a 30% crit chance with Naramon, why can't you get 30% base ammo with Nairi, what, 20%?
If it was not percentage and actually like gave you base armor, that would work out a lot better for like frames like Trinity, Banshee only at 15 armor to begin with instead of being percentile. It would probably work out a lot better. Think about it. Madurai, it increases damage, but at the same time, stealth is what, 2 times more damage? Why not give like weapons more crit or something, crit damage? I don't know. Just
you get to shoot
more
your laser.
damage. Yeah, I mean, laser that does nothing. The healing tree, what's the healing tree called? I don't even like it. Like, you get those instant revives.
Vazarin, you get the instant revives. I think is the main reason most people use it.
Yeah, I mean that's handy, except you only get like 2 or 3. And then what is it good for? Yeah. So definitely needs a buff there, but at the same time,
I will agree with Naramon though. I will agree with the nullifiers. I will agree with that. Like, out of the fact that you can go into nullifier bubble and not lose your stealth, and just it basically means that you have nothing really to worry about except accidentally popping out of that stealth or stepping into a toxic cloud or a toxic ancient as he's breathing all over you. They're your main issues, or maybe a stray bombard rocket that hits the wall near you, something like that. They're your only real issue. So I will agree that with regard to nullifier bubbles, I don't believe you should be stealthed inside them, but yeah, I'll agree with that much. What about you, Phil?
Yeah, I would agree with the same nullifier a bit. Outside of that, I don't think they really should change Naramon or Zenur. I think 2 of those definitely stand out because they're key things that make the game a little bit, I guess, easier or make you more survivable. But the thing too is that, just like how you said, if that disappears, because it's only like, it goes up to 10 seconds max, the minute that goes off, if you're not fast enough to get that back on, or your parkour isn't quick enough, you're dead. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize too is that if you play low key and you go invisible, you can still get killed. So depending on how sloppy you play, you can still get killed while you're stealth under Naramon. So it does have its weaknesses. So you're not invulnerable, the enemies can't see you specifically. They can be alerted to your presence, because once you fire your weapon, unless you have Hush on or other skill that for Loki where he keeps weapons quiet, you're vulnerable to being shot at. They're gonna shoot in that direction or go to that direction to try to melee you. The other schools, I don't know if they could make Inaru, Inaru the armor one. I don't know if they could make that just give you a higher base armor, because then it will kind of make the frames that have armor a little kind of obsolete. Like, why should I play Chroma when I could just put this skill on?
Because he's a princess.
On. Yeah, a pretty princess. But then you could put that skill on, and then you could just run around with Banshee and just never get wrecked. So I think it still has to be probably a percentage.
Well, even that, if you look at Unairu's other abilities, right, is if you go for the stone form up the top, you've got the increased armor. Then down from that, you've got melee strikes will strip armor off an enemy, and then on the other side, you've got, if you get hit by a melee weapon, you will basically you have a chance to turn that enemy to stone as they strike you. Which the only people that'll get that is the sneaky butchers that appear out of nowhere from behind you. But even at that, like, that's not going to save you from gunfire or from rockets or from anything else. Like, it's literally just those either the infested or fucking prod men or butchers. That's it. So when you put that up against Naramon, then maybe I guess I'll change my mind. Everything else I've said with regards to all the other focus trees in comparison to Naramon, when you've got like the defensive side of it and the stealth side of it, then maybe it does look overpowered. Go on, Phil.
Yeah, but it looks as though it's overpowered, but I think it's mainly, like you said, because the rest are so weak. So they need to bring up the other ones, but at the same time, you have to take into consideration that it's a work in progress. They brought it out earlier than they were supposed to. So you can complain as much as you want, but unless they take really long, like if like a few months go along and they still haven't done anything with it, then they could say, well, hey, look, guys, you know, what about this? Don't let this be another art wing where you just put it in and then forget about it.
That's just what I was about to say. Another art wing, that's all you'd want. What about you, Beirbones? What do you think of the focus schools and the strengths, whether Naramon is actually overpowered or not compared to the rest?
I think Naramon's, you know, only really overpowered when you've got it with certain kind of loadouts, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just throw it on every loadout and do amazing with it. It's only like certain, you know, Warframes and like weapons that you're using that will make it really good. Same with kind of Zenuric. Zenuric's probably the one I use the most. I don't really use Naramon all that much. It's more Zenuric I use. I use Mag quite a lot. Like the Unurai one, that's the one that I think is probably like the third best probably for me. The one that you'd say, you know, is, you know, kind of just below like Zenuric and Naramon. You know, I'd say Naramon's probably top, and then goes Zenuric, then Unurai. The other two, Madurai. I kind of want to say Maduri quite a lot.
Maduri.
And Vaseline.
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 You're using Vaseline.
Maduri and Vaseline, yeah. Right. Yeah, like those two, I just don't. I don't know. I kind of just I don't feel they're that like useful at all.
Well, the Madurai one gives you.
To Naramon, you know,
is the Madurai one that gives you the damages, the slash, the puncture,
one,
and
like slash damage? But it's like I don't feel like it's enough to be worth taking. You know what? I feel like what they need to do as well is the actual abilities themselves. Like when you use an ability, like maybe you could have one where whenever you use, like let's say it's maybe Maduri, right? We'll just call it Maduri from now on anyway, because that's what I'm calling it. But you know, once you use that ability, like maybe all the nullifier bubbles within a range of like 50 feet get destroyed. You know what I mean? That would, like, something cool like that, like little things like that we'd add in to make something, you know, really useful in certain situations. You know, like little things like that. Or, you know, maybe whenever you use it, increases the accuracy of like Tenno nearby for, you know, a duration of like 30 seconds. You know, little things like that they could definitely add in. Like some of the stuff just, like, you know, like some of the things they've kind of put in just kind of seem a bit kind of just.
Well,
like,
look, if you look at it like this, right? If you're a new player and you're shown the focus schools and you ask someone in your clan or someone on a forum, whatever, to just simplify it down and tell you what each of them benefits for you. What you will gain from using which of those, or which should you choose. If you were told that, right, you could pick Vazarin, which will give you a chance to heal teammates slightly or to get instant revives, or you could choose Madurai, which will give you, depending on which way you go, you can get increased slash damage, puncture or impact, or you can fire your laser or whatever else it does. Or you can move on to Inairu, which will give you a base increase of armor. It will allow you to strip armor off enemies with melee strikes, and it will also allow you to turn enemies to stone if they melee strike you. Or you can use Zenuric, which will give you non-stop nearly energy.
Constant kind of stream of energy regen.
Or you can choose Zenuric, which can give you a constant stream of energy. Or you can choose Naramon, which is going to leave you stealthed all the time once you keep your critical hits coming, and you can't dealing double damage. You can't have that stealth removed. Like, which one are you going to pick? You're always probably going to pick either the energy one or the stealth one, because they're the two at the minute that are most beneficial. So it's just, I just wish the other three were kind of
I think it's like, it's still in beta, you know, so you kind of.
But like Phil said, as long as it doesn't become an archwing.
Hopefully they do make it. I can't see it being ever, you know, too balanced. You know what I mean? Where all of them will be really viable. You know, there's always going to be you know, it's like the Warframes. You know, there's ones that are really viable and ones that aren't. You know, I think it's going to be one of those things. But I think Naramon, I don't think they should nerf it. I think they should just upgrade the other ones so they're kind of all, you know, like a relative power, you know what I mean? Like Vazarin should be one that you'd maybe use with like Trinity, you know what I mean? It'd be really good for like a support frame, you know, like the Unurai one, you know, it'd be really good for like Chroma, like Inaros, you know, frames like that, you know, like kind of tanky frames. I think that's how it should really work. But
so basically the Madurai is the Hydroid of focus schools.
What's that, sorry?
Yeah.
Basically, Madurai is the Hydroid of focus schools.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
The other thing about focus schools
cool,
too that
pointless.
the other thing about focus schools that I noticed as well too is that The key thing to go for is just the passives. Outside of that,
Yeah.
the rest of the stuff is kind of useless. So
Yeah, or you don't go for the main ability.
That's what
You
I'm
don't go
saying.
for the crowd control off
There's
of
no-
firing your
there's
laser. It's your passives.
Well,
yeah,
that's what I'm
there's no
saying. It's
incentive
like
to
you
say,
should
"Oh
have,
shoot."
you should
Sorry, go ahead,
have
Greg.
like a buff or like something special that comes with the abilities, because the abilities at the moment they're pretty shit. You know what I mean? There's nothing like major with them that you go, you know what? You know, once I've used my ability once and got the passives, I don't use it again. You know
Yeah,
what I
same
mean? Like
here.
I hardly ever use it. It's just, it's pointless.
I
using
just
it,
double tap
you know?
5.
Yeah, it's just that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I just pretty much, you know, it'd be nice to have things that were special to that maybe, you know, it locked, you know, like the Yunurai one, and maybe within like a 50-foot range, it locked all enemies to the ground for like 5 seconds, you know, and kept them there, you know, to maybe
Yep.
help out your part, like your team or whatever, so that, you know, people, you know, couldn't get attacked by infested or whatever for like 5 seconds, give them a bit of a break. But like, they're not that useful, the abilities themselves.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
the passives
So
they're after.
we'll move on.
There's no. Yeah. Go ahead.
Shut Phil. Shut Phil.
Oh no, I was just saying that there's no like you have stuff that branches off into different trees. It usually kind of makes you think, oh man, I want this, but I want this on this side. You know, there's nothing making me going for the outside of the passives. It just feels as though, hey, just look at what the passives are. Are they good? Yeah. Are they bad? No. Well, it's moderate. Or, like that, I'm not going with that tree then. You know.
Yeah,
it's
true.
pretty
It's
much
true though.
like,
It's
you
true.
never look at the ability and go, you know, that
Yeah.
ability is really great.
Oh,
I should
yeah,
feel
I get to turn things to stone. It's going to take me 10 seconds to turn one enemy to stone, but
Awesome.
firing my laser. Right, so we'll move on to the idea of having different enemy types in the game, and basically over some of the last few tactical alerts, I think it was which tactical alert was it with the corpus with the kind of lynxes? The hyenas, basically all the frost hyena and the fire one and all the bursts and all that. It's really nice to see new kind of enemies and mobs coming into the game. Although they all seem to be bloody corpus, it would be nice, I guess, to have a few different grenade ones or a few different infested ones as well. But with regards to mechanics of them, did you guys enjoy fighting against the bursts and fighting against those new miniature hyenas that had the kind of fire and the ice elemental coming off them, the debuffs that basically slowed you down and made it a little bit trickier for you to complete your missions? I really enjoyed those lynxes or those hyenas. I really enjoyed fighting them, especially I like the idea of the frost ones, them slowing you down. It was a pain in the ass, but it made things a little bit trickier with regards finishing your missions. So I'll start with you, Phil.
Yeah, like you were like the hyenas. The bursts I thought were a complete pain in the ass, and they were annoying to deal with. I didn't enjoy them at all. So, I could see the reason for them, but when they started to come like very often, like one after the next or two at a time, it just became like a big shit fest. It was just like, yeah, I was like, all right, fuck this. I'm not enjoying this anymore. The hyenas were more of a challenge, it was like, don't get slowed by this one, this one is gonna wreck you with fire, and it felt like, oh fuck, we gotta keep moving, we gotta be strategic.
We've also got those corpus weirdos on the flying rollerblades. I forgot about those as well.
Yeah.
I don't really think they impact as much as like the hyenas and the bursts. They kind of just there.
If you're on a certain frame with using an ability that might keep you alive, and then all of a sudden that you're gone, it disrupts the ability, and next thing you're kind of panic stations for a few seconds. But apart from that,
yeah, I think having them, one of the issues I have with them, I think, is that they kind of bring them at the end of like 5 waves, and that to me is kind of like, all right, I know they're coming, so there's no like sudden surprise from them, because I find the sudden surprise where they just strip you your skills and you can't do anything is more impactful. Like if you're doing a survival, when they just turn up, it has more impact than knowing that they're coming at the 5th wave. So defenses, I guess, they could be swapped out. Right. The enemy that nullified, not nullified, but stripped all your energy, and then they took that out and made it magnetic or electric damage, I think it was.
Yeah, it's electric now. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a bit harsh at first, but I thought that added a different challenge to the game. Maybe they could have.
What, stripping all of your energy?
Yeah, I think they could have nerfed it probably where it didn't strip all of your energy, probably stripped the majority of your energy.
But it was a bit random, wasn't it? Like, even if you were just in close proximity and they did something, all of a sudden you lost your energy. It was just...
Exactly. I didn't mind them stripping your energy, but it needed to be less like random. Like their range was just like ridiculous, but I think it was interesting. I think it was more impactful than just giving me electric damage, because when they shot me, I was like, all right, what the fuck? I would just kill them and move on.
Definitely. What about you, Beirbones, with regards to new enemy types?
Yeah, like, well, from when I first started playing, like, especially the Infested, they've added in, a few more enemy types than what there was before. It's pretty much just, you had the Ancients, and then you had the little kind of,
Oh, do you remember you used to have to shoot those Ancients on a weak spot?
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah.
Do you remember you used to have to shoot the Ancients on a weak spot? One of the legs, wasn't it? It was the right leg or something you used to have.
Yeah, or the arm sometimes, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Sorry, Greg, go on.
Yeah, no, like, like things like that where, you've got the Ancients where, if they hit you within, like, close proximity, of you, they'll pretty much drain all your energy. Stuff like that I think is quite cool, because it kind of makes you wary of them, you know what I mean? Like, the little kind of, like, running, like, pest, I can't remember the name of them.
Chargers.
Yeah, it's Chargers, that's the ones. Yeah, like, they are, you don't really care about them, but the Ancients, especially the healers, when they start healing other Ancients, or, well, when they start healing when they're nearby other Infested, it can make it pretty difficult for you to kill the other Infested, because they do so much healing. But especially the Ancients where, they reduce all your energy, things like that, where it makes you kind of wary of certain enemy types, especially like the Moas that they added in, the Infested Moas, with their shitty tar stuff, which I hate, that kind of thing where, used to be able, I remember when you used to sit in Satura and, like, level up your characters, and you never used to really give a fuck. You could just kind of sit there and kind of spam stuff. But now that they've got those Infested Moas in, they're shooting that tar shit at you all the time, and you kind of have to move away from it.
It's good to see new kind of varieties of enemies, I'll agree.
Yeah,
but I would like to see that kind of mechanic with regards taking out the weak spots on certain enemies. Like the weak spot on the Ancients I used to really enjoy having to shoot them in the leg, because you knew that was where you do the most damage, instead of just opening up and shooting them in the face or in the nuts or wherever. What about you, Neso?
With the reduction hidden vulnerability spots, like, if you look at the Bursas, their vulnerability spot is at the back. If they're focused on you, especially if you're playing solo, it's like, how are you going to hit that? Whereas, the old way where you just hit the arm, or maybe, like, hell, even just simply headshots. And, like, if you look at the Juggernaut, the belly's the weak spot, but even though the belly is the weak spot, they changed it that you can't just bounce your Tonk or grenades from the ground and hit its belly anymore. I don't know why they changed that, because, that
was a viable mechanic, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they should be vulnerability spots, not just, like, in vulnerability times in any game. It's just, it wastes time. Like, why would you want that in your game?
Well, an invincible phase, basically.
Yeah, I don't think it's viable in a shooter, really.
Yeah, definitely. I hate to bring another game into this, but if you look at Destiny, like, they got, there was, like, this race on this, like, desert place. It's been so long, but they basically have this beefy fucking armor, but, if you get those headshots off or hit their vulnerability spots, you're doing a lot of damage, whereas you compare it to something like Bursa, where, you have to somehow get behind it, which is, fine in a group setup, but if you're playing by yourself, that's not something you can really do easily.
Especially if you're in a frame that doesn't have that kind of crowd control to stun them initially, I guess. Yeah.
And bosses as well, like, take Vor on, where is it, Earth now? Not Vor, sorry. Like, what's his name? Vahek. Like, there's that part where his mask just goes down and there's no way to get rid of it. You just gotta go through all that shitty damage coming out. Like, if maybe, like, hitting it with melee would open up the mask, or something that adds a little more variety to how you solve things, and maybe, like, make use of the fact that you have 3 different kinds of weapons on you at all times. Something like that.
Yeah, so at this phase I need to go to melee strikes, or at this phase I need to go to pistols that has a different damage type on it, or basically more interesting ways to deal with enemies, instead of all just been either tank and spank, or having an enemy that goes through phases of invulnerability, and then you've got a small window where you need to do damage to a certain part of it, which probably shouldn't be the case. Like you said, it'd be a lot more interesting if you actually had to switch weapons, or if you were able to constantly deal damage and there was no invulnerable stage. Would be a bit better.
I think
Another
the
thing,
better.
I think the sentience or that was where they were trying to implement some of that stuff where you had to switch weapons with the sentience.
Yeah. Especially, I think when it comes to events, you know, like that last one we had with the hyena thing again. I can't remember what it was called. It was like the jackal kind of, but
Giant
different,
jackal.
you know, like that, like the
Optimus
thing,
Jackal.
Like, yeah, that was like when it had something like that. You know what I mean? Where you could. Fuck, I've totally lost my train of thought now. Fuck you guys.
Peacock.
Another thing too is like the Eximuses. I think they need to just like do away with that. I mean, it works for games like Diablo, but in Warframe, it's better to just like take that and give it to like individual units. Like the whole magnetic like aura thing fully stripped, and that really sucks. But imagine that on like a melee unit that you can see is coming to you, and if it gets close enough, not with some stupid crazy aura, but like you see it
hit
coming,
you, it'd be different,
have a
yeah.
chance to shoot it.
Yeah.
You have a chance to shoot it down before you get into that aura range. That's a big threat. You gotta shoot that thing down, and imagine that with like the healers or maybe like those frostlings is around slowing you down at the same time. It would be a lot more hectic, but it's not like the bad kind of hectic. It's the you gotta deal with priorities hectic.
Right, so the final point or the final topic is, we know that Warframe, I guess, is a game that thrives off of updates. We've already said that when Warframe doesn't have an update, the community kind of dissolves a little bit, or a lot of players move on to different games until another update hits, whether it's a large update, small update, whether it's a new weapon that people know that they're going to have to grind to try out. And while doing this, with all these updates coming out all the time, and the fact that there's always new weapons, like I think a few weeks ago we had like an update on a weapon nearly every week, which led to a lot of people grinding, and the result in that, of course, is going to be some kind of burnout, because games like this or games like Diablo or loot-based games or loot-driven games will always kind of lead to burnout if you spend too much time every day trying to get the items that you want. So with regards dealing with burnout, or how do you guys deal with burnout? Like, I'll hold my hand up right now at this point in the game. After all the shit over Christmas and all the new content coming out, I'm suffering from a bit of burnout, which meant that I've been playing a lot more games, and it's a comment that I get a lot on my videos as to how do I deal with burnout, considering I've played the game for 3 years. How do I keep coming back to the game and not get completely bored senseless by it? And the only way I can do it is by, there's just times where I will only log on to Warframe once a week because I'm so burnt out, which means I'll spend all of the other time, whether it's playing lately I've been playing Battlefield, Dark Souls, The Division, and so on, and Warcraft as well. I've gone back in to mess about on Warcraft on my 100 Warrior and things like that. So how do you guys deal with burnout, or when do you know when burnout hits? Do you know what I mean? When burnout strikes, how do you deal with it? Let's start with you, Neso.
I mean, right now I've been playing nothing but League of Legends, and like the last time I hopped on Warframe, yeah, fuck you, was yesterday. But the only reason I hopped on was because I needed footage for a video. Like that was the only thing. It's like, without friends to play Warframe with, it's pretty fucking boring. And I am suffering from burnout, and when a new weapon comes out, I'll play maybe like for 2 days and then I'm burned out again. Unless like a big rework for a frame or something, it's really hard to deal with. It's just you just gotta stay away from it for a little bit, and you start to miss the game, and you come back and you play it a lot. That's just how Warframe works.
What about you, Phil?
Yeah, I think it's a community and update driven game where you need friends to play and you need updates to keep you going. And then you have like the usual little weapon updates that may come weekly or every other week. But then you have the major, like the big updates, the 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 updates that bring a little bit more content to the game that can keep you playing a little bit longer than just getting a new weapon. For me, it's the same thing. Like, Warframe is a grinding game, and if you keep doing something monotonously over and over and over, I guess especially for me, that since I like go into like the creative field of doing like design work and video editing, I need something else to stimulate my mind in different ways. So I just pick up different games and play all the time. So even if I'm playing Warframe and there's an update that's out, I might still be playing another game. So I think that's the key thing. Don't just sit down and play Warframe. I mean, with any game, it doesn't matter. If you play any game too long, you can burn out from it. So I think it's just a matter of just staggering the different games or different things that you can do in between updates and hotfixes.
I think the main issue is there's, you know, a lot of people, you know, I think we kind of went over this already, but, you know, a lot of people kind of feel like they get burnt out with the game and stuff like that, and it's like, it's always going to happen because, you know, especially if you've got like 2,000-3,000 hours in the game, you're always going to be running out of stuff to do, you know, that's the thing. It's like, if you put as much time into the game as, you know, a lot of guys have, you know, if you've been playing it since the open beta, or for however long you've been playing it, if you put a lot of time into it, you know, if you've got like thousands of hours in it, you are gonna, you know, eventually get bored of it, and you need to kind of fill your time in with other games. And especially if you're not in clans, or, you know, you don't have a huge kind of community aspect like playing Warframe. I think a lot of it's based on the community. You know, I can't play this game solo. It's just one of these games that I can't play it on my own. I just hate it. You know, I'll do a mission and then I'll have to like come off and do something else. You know, I'd rather enjoy spending my time, you know, playing with other guys, you know, and kind of having a good laugh and just doing like random kind of challenge missions, you know, with guys, you know, to kind of save myself from the burnout a bit. But I think they definitely need to add in, you know, something that's kind of a bit like the sorties, where, you know, there's kind of bonus extra missions or daily missions or weekly missions that you can do with other players, because the sorties are cool at the moment. They're you know, it's something different, you know, something you can log on every day and do. But apart from that, there's not really that much else for, you know, veteran players.
Yeah, agreed. Right, so then that's the first episode of the Cryopod-Cast done. So I guess if anyone watching wants to add anything in the comment section that they'd like us to discuss in the next one, then by all means do that. And as always, thanks for watching.
Potato!
Dick.